Everyone, this is State Representative Laura Devlin. As the ranking House member on the Transportation Committee, I just wanted to reach out and touch base with an update on tolls. So the issue of tolls in the state of Connecticut is alive and well. And it's pretty crazy because despite survey after survey and feedback from constituents, from residents and businesses across the state, it is clear, the message is loud and clear. People in our state do not want tolls. We have surveyed just recently thousands of residents across the state, and they have echoed that very same point. But for some reason, the governor and the majority Democrats in Hartford are just bent on getting tolls in place. Before, it used to be because we have congestion issues, so we have to have congestion tolling. But now it seems that it's just to address damage done on 12 bridges by large semi-tractor trailer trucks. And I have to say, while I don't support tolling on any vehicles in our state, the current proposal also doesn't make sense because it is singling out tractor trailer trucks. It's not the size of a vehicle that may or may not cause damage to roads, it's the weight of the vehicle. So why are they leaving huge classifications of other vehicles out of this particular bill? The bill that has been talked about, and we had a public hearing a week ago, also has multiple loopholes in it. There is no question that this can be expanded to cars. The protections that are talked about are protections that we've seen in other instances within our state legislature, and they have been overturned. So there is no doubt in that regard. We hear a lot that, well, other states have tolls, so we need to have them too. But, a good example is Massachusetts. Massachusetts has one tolled highway, the Turnpike, with maybe 16 or so gantries, but they collect the same amount of money that in Connecticut we collect through our petroleum gross excise tax. Massachusetts doesn't have that tax. So we are already paying gas taxes and fuel taxes that other states aren't, that are supposed to go to fund our transportation. And what came out at the hearing a week ago Friday was that the idea of putting in these 12 tolls, which are supposed to bring in a net about $172 million to the state, less than 1% of the $19 billion that is to be spent, or ideally, on our transportation infrastructure. But the idea of having this tolling money is then to borrow low-interest loans from the federal government, and it is very likely that the gas taxes we pay, fuel, and the petroleum gross excise, which total about $800 million, will go to other purposes that may or may not be transportation related. It all feeds into a lack of trust and a lack of transparency that residents, I hear over and over again, are tired of. And let me give you a few examples of some comments that have come in. From one individual, my biggest fear, if passed for 18-wheel trucks, that the Democrat legislature will very soon afterward use its passage as an opportunity to expand it to all vehicles. Once the gantries are installed, it's only a matter of time before all vehicles will be paying the tolls and more gantries will be installed. And that's such a great point because no state would have the number of tolled highways that the state of Connecticut would have under the current proposal that is being pushed by the governor and the Democrats in the House and the Senate. We need original thoughts and have to stop looking to copy New York and Rhode Island. Another one, tolls will increase the costs of goods and services in the state. They'll most affect the most vulnerable, the poor, working poor, and fixed income seniors. And this is a great point too, because we heard from businesses in the public hearing that, one said, this is going to cost me $60,000 a year. I could pay tolls or I could hire another driver, provide another job. Others that we heard from that provide groceries, that deliver construction materials, that deliver school lunches, have clearly said that this is going to have to ultimately be passed down to their customers, which ultimately means to taxpayers. And tolls are the most expensive and the most regressive tax that we could put into place. So at this point, the majority Democrats in the House and the Senate and the governor are advocating for tolls. Republicans and about 86% of the public are advocating against, We're $172 million apart. That's got to be available through our state government. And the commissioner of the Office of Policy and Management, that's the governor's budget person, said it very clearly in our public hearing. Well, if we don't do tolls, we have to raise the income tax or the sales tax, and never talked about looking for efficiencies or cutting spending. So I am confident that we can come together and find a solution that doesn't put in another revenue stream that we know will be expanded, will be increased, and will be another tax on Connecticut residents and businesses. But we can find a way to come together and invest in our infrastructure and get moving on what we need to do for our state. So that's what's currently happening. I would suggest, please, and ask of you to contact your legislators, keep the pressure on. It is likely that a bill may be called in the House and Senate in the coming weeks. And if we can, keep contacting the Democrat legislators and let them know your thoughts on this, that would be great.